Hello everybody and welcome back to our playthrough of Neverwinter Nights on the original campaign. I went out and bought myself a full-on bag of holding, which luckily for us reduces the weight of anything put inside of it by 100%. So I can store up to 3 main sets of armor plus some other stuff. At the moment it's just holding a little bit of magical extras for me. So hopefully we won't have to make as many trips back to the temple because we overcome our strength and our weight limit. I also did a quick test, and it turns out that I can advance the story on each of the henchmen that I have a quest item for. So I believe I have quest items for everybody except Lenu. I have the silver ring for Grimnaw, the 11 bread recipe for Body Knock, Glinkle. I have the celestial elixir for Sharwin. I have the brooch for Dalen Red Tiger, and I have the official document for Tommy Undergallows. So I'm going to talk with each of these people, have them advance their stories that they've been telling us about their background, and they'll each give us a magical item, some of which are actually useful to us immediately. So we'll be happy to get some of those rewards and put them into good use. So let's go ahead and start with Dalen and just work our way down the line.
I've been waiting for you. I suspected you would return. Do you need me to join with you once more?
Yes. My blade is yours to command. Alright?
Yes? Is there something you need?
I just want to talk for a while. My strength is in weapons, not words, COVID. If you're going to be my henchman, I'd like to know more about you. I would ask, COVID, that before I tell you about myself, you tell me something of yourself. Among my people, it is said that in knowing our companions, we come to know ourselves. I admit that I fight only for gold, but I know nothing of your motivations. Why do you serve Neverwinter during these darkest times? I've seen too much death and suffering from the plague to stand idly by. You are an honorable man, COVID. I too seek honor here in Neverwinter, though of a different sort. I came to this city to make a name for myself, COVID, to forge a legend that even the tribe of my mother would hear. Instead, I found myself guarding crates and barrels against common thugs. Yet even in the sordid world of the docks, my reputation spread. Several captains asked me to join their crews. Perhaps if the plague had not come, the name Dalen Red Tiger would have become a legend on the high seas. Don't worry, Dalen. Stick with me, and the bards will sing your praises. Perhaps it is for the best. Had I joined a ship's crew, it is unlikely the Utgard would ever have heard of my accomplishments. My place is here, in the north. This is the land of my birth, and this is where I must fulfill my destiny. I will bring no honor to my mother's name by fleeing on a ship. Only if I stay can I hope to redeem the shame of my father's blood and end my exile. Exile? Shame of your father's blood? What are you talking about? Please forgive me, COVID. I became lost in the moment. The drums of glory momentarily distracted me from the task at hand. It will not happen again. No, Dalen, tell me what you were talking about. I want to hear it. Please, COVID. The things I said before, the words were, this is not the time to speak of such things. Perhaps later I will speak more of this, but not now. Alright, and we just have to
Yes?
bring him back into conversation, and we can keep that going. Just want to talk for a while. And let's continue the story from before. In the time we have been together, you have respected my request for privacy, COVID. Now I feel I am ready to tell you the rest of my tale. I mentioned my exile to you before, COVID. The truth is, I did not willingly leave the Utgard to come to Neverwinter. The tribe cast me out. I'm a monstrous half-breed. As a child, it was obvious my blood was tainted. I was violent and savage. It was only because of the pleas of my mother that the tribe did not slay me as an abomination while still an infant. Did they hate you so much just because you were different? You don't understand. Not only am I different, I am half-orc. The orcs are my tribe's most hated enemies. For generations they have warred with the Utgard. How could my tribe welcome me when I am a living reminder of their worst foe? What about your father? I I never knew my father. My mother never spoke of him, though I saw the pain in her eyes whenever I asked. But where the pain came from, I could not say. Some in our tribe said he was a vile beast who forced himself on my mother during a raid. Others claimed my mother loved him and welcomed him to her bed, then wept when he was murdered by the warriors who discovered them. The truth is I shall never know, for it died with my mother last winter. At her death, the tribe cast me out. Can you blame them? Why waste good provisions on a half-breed bastard yet to prove himself in the world? That's horrible. They had no right to do that. I bear my tribe no ill will. They had little choice. Until I prove myself, they cannot be certain where my loyalties lie. Once I show the spirit of the Utgard is pure within me, the Red Tiger tribe will welcome me back. And it is not as though they had abandoned me in the cold. They gave me food and weapons before they sent me out into the world to prove myself, and a sacred talisman of the tribe once carried by my mother. Forgive me, COVID. But I cannot speak of this anymore. It is too painful. I want to help you, Dalen. I thank you for your kind offer, but there is little you can do for me right now. Please, COVID, the things I said before, the words were, this is not the time to speak of such things. Perhaps I will speak of more of this, but not now. Alright, let's see if we can keep moving forward.
Is there something you...
I suppose you deserve to know the rest of the story, COVID. I have kept this weight upon my heart, but we are in this together. We are both warriors, after all. If I cannot turn to my brother in arms for aid, who in this world can I count on? There is something troubling me, COVID. My quest to prove my worth as an Utgard warrior has not yet begun, and already I fear I have failed. Failed? How? I am not the first Red Tiger warrior to be exiled in this way, though most who undertake a vision quest do it so as a punishment for committing some crime or transgression against the tribe. When the warrior is sent from the tribe, he is given a special talisman. This talisman must remain by his side, for its magic brings the visions, and the visions illuminate his quest. My talisman was a simple brooch, worn by my mother, one of sentimental and spiritual value. Alas, I fear my quest will never be complete now, as the talisman, the key to my visions, is lost. Lost? It happened shortly after I started work at the docks. I tried to keep a vigilant guard over the talisman, but the district is crawling with pickpockets and cut purses. Ever since it was stolen, I have sought the brooch, but how can one locate such an object? It is unique, but of little monetary value. It may be that the thief who stole it threw it away when he realized how little it was worth. That was partly the reason I stayed so long at the docks, hoping I might somehow discover the brooch. I am certain it is somewhere in the docks district, even now, if it was not burned on the bonfires of the plague corpses. Don't worry, Dalen, we'll find your brooch somehow. I know I shall probably never find my mother's brooch again, COVID, but I shall not give up hope. Without it, my vision quest will never be revealed to me. Is this the brooch you were talking about? My mother's brooch. Thank you, COVID. I can never repay you for this gift. I have no gold or treasure to reward you, but there is one thing I can offer. A small token, perhaps, but it is all I have. Among my people, there is nothing we value more than friendship. You have proved yourself a true friend, COVID, so I give you this amulet as a sign of the bond we share. Thank you, Dalen. Because of you, COVID, my vision quest can continue. I will keep my mother's brooch by my side so it may guide me on my quest. But until I receive a vision to guide me on my quest, I will remain by your side. Once more, I thank you for finding my mother's brooch, COVID. Alright. So, he gave us something. He gave us the Amulet of the Red Tiger Tribe, +1. And what this gives us is a +1 enhancement on Strength, and immunity to fear. So that will actually increase our stats by quite a bit. Just that extra little +1 to Strength increases our attack bonuses by 1 and the amount of damage we deal by 1 each time we swing. The only thing we lose out on is our will save goes down by 1, but we don't have to worry about any type of fear effect anytime now because of this brooch. So that's a little bit of benefit. Alright, Tommy, we have his quest item, the official documents, so we can ask him about his past.
I figured they'd drag your carcass back here eventually. You need me to come with you again?
Lead the way.
Eh? What can Tommy do for you?
I just want to talk. Oh, what did you have in mind, my lord? I'd like to know a little bit more about you. Oh, it's a bit strange to have you ask me that, my lord. Most people think they know Tommy Undergallows well enough through his reputation. In Calumport, the tales of my deeds were the daily fodder of old men in taverns. I do not speak of heroic acts, however. I am a halfling of the underworld, if you remember. What sort of deeds are you talking about, then? Oh, nothing so sordid and evil as you might guess. I've had fame and fortune aplenty more than once, and lost it all just as often. My most famous exploit, in fact, is one of the reasons I chose to come to Neverwinter when I fled from Calensham. You see, I'd spent the larger part of my years in Calumport in the employ of a powerful Medusa. She was a great power in the city's underworld, and that is no small feat for anyone, statue-making gaze or no. A Medusa? Are you serious? Quite serious. She had a fine head for business, and it was as ruthless as any cold-hearted sheik. Not as good with the face-to-face negotiations, though, if you take my meaning. I was in her employ to run errands. Burglaries, message deliveries, walking a cat, assassinations, that sort of thing. I did my job well, too, and was well known for it. The job that made me famous, however, was the last one she gave me. I was to infiltrate the house of the famous Vizier Sabalan Vihayed and kill him. You were an assassin? That's horrible. If it's any consolation, my lord, I doubt I killed anyone who didn't deserve it. In Calumport, you do what you can to survive. We've business to undertake, I suppose. Perhaps I'd best tell the rest of this story another time. What do you say to that, my lord? I'd like to hear the rest now. Wow, you're more impatient than a drunk camel driver in line at the salt market, aren't you? Ask me another time and I'll tell you everything. Alright, this is that other time. What's this? Oh, right. Where was I? Was I telling you about my infiltration of the house of the great Vizier Sabalan Vahid? Yes, I believe I was. This was no ordinary mission, my friend. Sabalan had stymied the efforts of my Medusan patroness for many years. He was a mage of no little power. Sending me to kill him was both a vote of confidence in my abilities and, if I thought, a near certain sentence of death. Looking me in the eyes would have been cleaner. Were you able to infiltrate his house? I did say it was the job that made me famous, didn't I? And anyway, the threat of being turned into stone statue was rather an incentive to succeed. Perhaps it was fortunate that us halflings aren't given much credit. I was able to squirm my way into the vizier's service as a kitchen boy, and nobody gave me a second thought. For over a month I was pleased to serve the vizier his meals. I spent my time studying him, looking for a way to kill him cleanly, and he barely even noticed my presence. Why didn't you just poison his food? I would have, I suppose, except that he ate his meals with his daughter, and that made things a bit complicated. His daughter, the sweet lass, Saida was her name. Human, to be sure, but she never looked down upon me. I suppose I delayed killing Sabalan at the time, just to continue being around her, though I didn't think that at the time. There was just one or more excuse after another. The months grew longer, and Saida and I grew closer. She couldn't resist my charms, of course. No lass can when I put my mind to it. We had to be secret about it. I was, of course, just the kitchen boy. Were you in love with her? Oh, I don't know about that. I thought so at the time, sure enough. My patroness kept threatening to turn me into a statue and let the pigeons have their way with me, however. I was young and foolish and stupid, however. Three traits that are great in a buxom lass, but poor in an assassin. I decided I couldn't hurt Saida by killing her father, and told my patroness to go look in the mirror. Needless to say, she didn't take it well. You betrayed her? I wouldn't take it well either. Well, fortunately, you don't turn your closest friends into pottery. My patroness wasn't exactly the life of the party, you know. My Medusa patroness decided to take matters into her own hands, of course. If I'd known, I would have left Calumport a lot earlier. I still don't see how this all made you famous. It certainly didn't look that way at the time, I'll grant you that, my lord. At any rate, it's a bit of a story. I'll tell you the rest some other time. Let's just keep on with your quest for now. Alright? Moving ahead.
What can Tommy do for you?
Oh, fine, fine. Picture this then, my lord. There I was lying in the arms of my human sweetie, completely unaware my angry patroness was on her way. I was also unaware at the same time my sweetie father, the vizier, had been tipped off to my presence by an old rival of mine. Both the wizard and the Medusa were descending on the tower, determined to kill me, and I was contentedly asleep in the hay, naked as a jaybird. Well, that can't have been good. Yes, well, being naked in the hay can leave you picking straw out of your... Oh, you probably mean the coming to kill me thing. No, that wasn't good. So I am lying there with a big smile, suddenly, bam! The door to the loft flies open, and there is the great vizier, full of rage. So he caught you with his daughter. Did you defend her honor? Oh, no. I'd already taken her virtue, and I wasn't aware of any honor, my lord. No, I hid behind her and screamed in terror like a banshee. Not the most heroic picture, I'll admit. I darted through his legs and fled naked into the streets. Before I knew it, the vizier was chasing me through half the city, firing off lightning bolts and curses at a rapid pace. My patroness was also a bit miffed to see us breeze past her, and she too took up the chase. Her fury grew and grew as we stayed ahead of her. I ran for all I was worth, but bugger me if that wizard couldn't move those skinny little legs of his. The Medusa finally found him throttling me angrily atop the largest building in the market, Saban. What happened then? Well, my patroness was mad enough that she was determined to be the one to murder me first. She and the vizier yanked me between them like some tug of war, and all I could do was gurgle helplessly. They shouted threats and screamed at each other until the Medusa lifted her veil. The vizier saw this and launched himself at her, casting a deadly spell as he flew. He hit her squarely, and they both flew over the edge of the rooftop. I would have been gladly rid of them both, but alas, poor Tommy was catapulted right along with them. We hit 3 canopies on the way down, and finally landed square in the middle of the market. The vizier's spell had worked, as the Medusa was dead, but not before he had been turned into a statue. A broken statue by that time, and there I sat, naked and stunned, but otherwise unhurt. And this made you famous? Well, sure, my lord. The crowd assumed I had killed a powerful Medusa and a famous wizard, bare-handed no less. I was in no condition to argue. Word spread rapidly, of course, and the story grew. You wouldn't believe some versions I heard. Sadly, the constabulary believed them. I was a wanted man for murdering the vizier. Good for my reputation, perhaps, bad for my health. His daughter wasn't too impressed either. She was angry at you for killing her father? You'd think so, but no. She didn't want to shack up with a wanted halfling. I had to prove my innocence. That's why I decided to come to Neverwinter. One of my oldest friends lives here, and he is a forgery master. I was hoping he'd make some documents to clear my name in Calimport. Sadly, I suspect Bellman's fallen victim to the plague. Can't find him anywhere, so that means no evidence and no marriage for poor little Tommy. Perhaps we'll find your friend yet. Oh, who cares about him? I just wanted those documents. Maybe he finished them before he croaked. I can only hope. Are these the documents you were talking about? What? You're kidding me, right? Let me see that. Hayden, Lord Friedling, Halfling. Yep, that's my old moniker. And it really is Belma's work after all. Just my luck that it would be his crappiest work ever. I'd be laughed out of Calimport if I tried to use this. Ah, well, that's life. Cider had the biggest buck teeth anyway. Don't know what I was thinking. I suppose I should thank you for saving me the effort, my lord. Come to think of it, here, let me give you this in return. It was a ring that the vizier wore that I, managed to slip off his finger before he got stoned. Thank you, Tommy. Yeah, well, the vizier seemed to value it, said it had great magic in it, but it never did nothing for me. Maybe it'll bring you luck. At any rate, I don't have to worry about finding stupid Belma anymore. I would have had to kill him for being an idiot anyway. Let's just keep on with your quest, my lord, Alright. And this gave us a Ring of the Rogue +1. This increases our dexterity by 1, increases our disable trap and open lock by 1. I don't think it gives us any use of the actual skill. So yeah, no disabled device, no open lock. I think you have to put skill ranks into those. Oh, let me put it on. Yeah, still not here. No open lock. So I believe you have to put ranks into the ring, into the skill before you're able to use it. But what it can do is it can give us the increase to dexterity, which will increase our reflex save. Even if it doesn't increase our AC, because we're capped at using 1 dexterity for your armor class. And for now, we don't have a better ring. This lore ring we can just switch on and off as we need to identify items if they're too tough for us to identify. So we can hold on to this for now. Alright, next up is Sharwin.
I suspected you'd show up here soon. I'm glad to see I was right. So, shall we join up once more?
Alright. Let's see what she has to say.
Is
You want to hear about the rest of the tale about my ill-fated affair, do you? I suppose there's no harm in it. I should have run off with Dannon, or turned him aside completely. I did neither, and I was unwilling to disobey my mother. Instead, I seduced Lord Fothington as she wished, and loved my bard in secret. Dannon was kind to me. He enthralled me with his music, and I adored him. Lord Fothington, on the other hand, was merely lustful and possessive, and my mother was overjoyed. This couldn't have gone on long. No, that's true. These things are bound to come to a bad end, of course, and I wish I had known that. As the date of my marriage to Lord Fothington grew closer, he began to suspect that something was amiss. I spent far too much time away from him in Dannon's arms. It was all my mother could do to convince him that I was true to his love, and it was she who finally discovered me in the arms of my bard. So she had Dannon killed? She had the guards chase him away, but they weren't able to kill him. That didn't stop me from loving him either. Mother turned on me then, and forbade me to ever see Dannon ever again. I was to marry Lord Fothington, and that was all there was to it. I refused at first. I loved Dannon, and nothing else mattered, so she begged me. That proud woman got on her knees with tears in her eyes, and begged me not to abandon her to poverty. I could do as I was expected. Save my mother and marry a man whom I did not love, or I could run off into the unknown with Dannon. You chose Dannon? I struggled with the decision, for I had never had to make up my own mind, but the thought of that dreary life with Lord Fothington frightened me so. I chose Dannon. Lord Fothington was outraged. He tried to have Dannon and me executed, and we were forced to flee with not a copper between us. My mother was crushed. She was turned out from noble society, as she feared, and lost everything to repay my stepfather's debt. What did you do then? I fled from Neverwinter with Dannon, and we travelled far, and he taught me how to become a bard in my own right. I did not return home for many years, until recently, in fact. It was an odd feeling to discover that Lord Fothington had lost his own fortune years ago, and both he and his household were now dead from the plague. That was the fate that had awaited me. And my mother, I'd only been to see her once since my return. She still lives? She has lived all these years as a poor seamstress, it seems, bitter and blaming me for the poor luck which had befallen her. We said little to each other, as she ordered me out of her leaky cottage. I did find out one thing, however. She is dying. She suffers from bone rot, a disease which would require the attention of several clerics for a month to heal normally. With the plague, however, no one can help her, though I had tried in vain to find one who can. Why would you even want her healed? I don't know, really. I do not feel the need for her forgiveness, but nor am I angry at her. My mother is what she is. I know only of one sure cure for bone rot, an extract from a flower that it is said can only be grown on the fabled cliffs of Mount Celestia. Finding such a potion would be difficult, I have no doubt. It is my hope to find one, however, and save my mother's life. I do owe her, really, but I do not owe her, really, but I would like to do this one thing for her now. Is this the potion you were talking about? It is indeed. How you came across something that can only be made on another plane. However, well, I won't question it. Thank you, Covid. I have sent this to my mother as soon as possible. You've made me feel much better. Here, take this. It is a belt that belonged to Dannon that I've saved. I want you to have it. Hopefully it will serve you well. Thank you, Sharwin. I'm not very used to kindness from others, Covid. I will not forget this. Let us just proceed with your mission now. Alrighty. So, this is going to help us out a lot in dialogue checks. The Belt of the Performer, +1. It gives us a bonus to Charisma, which by itself will not be enough to increase our Charisma stat bonus. But the Perform, also not too useful since we're not a bard. Persuade. We just get a flat +1 to Persuade. So anytime we equip the belt, our Charisma will go from a 6 to a 7, which will still be a -2 to our Charisma checks. But the Persuade will increase from a 2 to a 3. Not very much right now, but other ways to increase that as well, which we will come across in our travels. But it's good for anytime we have to like try and like haggle for more money for a reward or something like that. I can just slip on the belt and it'll increase my stats, and I have a higher chance of succeeding then. Alright, we have Grimnaw's ring. We can try talking to him.
I have been waiting for you. I suspected you would return. Do you need me to join with you once more?
Then together we shall rain blood and death up and down upon the world.
Is there something you need?
Conversation is one way to pass the time until the Silent Lord comes to claim us. What do you wish to speak about? If you're going to be my henchman, I'd like to know more about you. I would ask, Covid, that you tell me about yourself first. I am eager to know what type of man I have allied myself with. Why do you serve this plague-ravaged city? What possesses you to venture out into the streets amidst the bloated, swollen corpses and the burning funeral pyres? I have seen too much death and suffering from the plague to stand idly by. What the plague brings upon the people of this city cannot truly be called death. There is no final release for the victims of this illness into the waiting grasp of the Silent Lord. True death, the ultimate end of existence, is the one perfect and absolute. In a flawed world of uncertainty, the Order of the Long Death understands this. Tell me more about the Order of the Long Death, Grimnaw. We bring pain, torment, and anguish to the denizens of this world to prepare them for the release of death. We spread devastation. We seek to tear down, to obliterate, and to destroy. The monks of my order bow down to death, Covid. We may swear allegiance to another, but only as it serves the will of the Silent Lord. So this Silent Lord is the god of your order worships? My order does not bow before any god. We worship death itself, in all its incarnations. Gods are transient. Even a god may die. Bahal, Bane, Sirik. But death itself is always present. The Silent Lord is the name we give to the concept, the very essence of death. We all serve death in one way or another, Covid. It was only after I left Mithril Hall to join the Order that I truly came to understand this. Mithril Hall? Is that where you come from originally? I spent several years at Mithril Hall in the service of Bruenor Battlehammer before I joined the Order of the Long Death. But there was no place for me among the clans at Mithril Hall. I was shunned and reviled by my own kind. Shunned? What do you mean? This is not the time to speak of this, Covid. Let us return to our mission. The Silent Lord's hunger will not be sated by mere words. Let's keep it up. Very well, Covid. I have been reluctant to speak of my time at Mithril Hall, but you will not let the matter rest. When Bruenor Battlehammer reclaimed the throne at Mithril Hall not 20 years ago, it kindled a fierce racial pride in all the dwarves of the north. You are a fellow dwarf, Covid. Surely you can understand the desire to dwell among the legendary halls of our forefathers. I was one of many who flocked into Bruenor's banner, one of many who came to battle the denizens of the Underdark and drive them from the mines beneath Mithril Hall. But they wouldn't accept you, would they? This was long before I joined the Order of the Long Death, and at first Mithril Hall welcomed me, for even then I did not fear death, and I was eager to inflict it upon my enemies. There are many among Bruenor's followers who shared my love of battle and the reckless fury with which I slaughtered my foes, but none of them appreciated the terrible beauty of what was all around us. Have you ever heard the glorious chorus of screams of dying drow echoing in the chambers of a dwarven mind, or paused in battle to taste this palpable spectre of death descending on the field like a cool mist? Have you ever stood over a dying comrade, drinking in his pain and fear as his life bleeds away, gazing into his eyes to glimpse the terrible understanding shining through in the final instant death claims him? That's horrible. After the battles, I would walk among the scattered corpses, fascinated by the truth of their deaths. The others found it disturbing. I knew, but I couldn't stop. The compulsion was too strong. And as I wandered amidst the twisted, mangled bodies and gazed into the masks of agony forever frozen on their faces, I understood. Drow, Duergar, dwarf. In death, we are all the same. In death, we are all perfect. I tried to share my revelations with my brothers in arms, but they could not understand. They only looked at me with horror and disgust. No kidding, you're a freak, Grimnaw. That was what they said as well. Thought they were glad to have me at their side whenever the drow attacked. I think that meant to be though. I left Mithril Hall shortly after my revelation in search of something. I found the Order of the Long Death. I suppose I cannot blame my fellow dwarves for their reaction. The acceptance of death is not easy. Even among my order, there are those who cannot face the Silent Lord when their time comes. What do you mean by that? I am sorry, COVID. I should not have said anything about this to you. This is a matter that must be solved by those of my order. You can tell me, Grimnaw. Maybe it's something I can help you with. This is not the time to speak of this, COVID. Let us return to our mission. The Silent Lord's hunger will not be sated by mere words.
Is there something you need?
I told you earlier this was a matter for those of my order, COVID, but you have proven yourself to be an agent of the Silent Lord. Death follows you wherever you go, and even though the dwarves of Mithril Hall turned me away, I sense you will not do so. I have not been completely honest with you about my reasons for coming to Neverwinter, COVID. I came here in search of someone. Her name is Alaganda. Like me, she was a disciple studying to enter the Order of the Long Death. We often trained together in anticipation of our initiation. I will not describe our initiation rituals to you, COVID, but the Silent Lord claims many who undertake them. Only the few who survive, as I did, are welcome into the Order of the Long Death. But Alaganda could not bear to face her own mortality, and on the morning of her initiation she fled, breaking the vow she swore when she first joined the Order. And you followed her here? I did not follow her right away. The ravages of the ritual had left me broken and weak, but when I recovered, my instructor came to me and told me what I must do. Alaganda has denied the Silent Lord that which is rightfully his. For this she must die, and because I am the lone survivor of the most recent initiation, I am the one given the privilege of killing her. If I am ever to advance further in the Order of the Long Death, I must bring back proof of Alaganda's death to my masters. Proof? What kind of proof? Alaganda always wears a forged silver ring embossed with the crest of her family, a soaring falcon against a full moon. After wearing it for so many years, the ring will not fit over her finger, and she would never willingly remove the ring while she lives in any case. The Silent Lord has many tools to reap his harvest. Alaganda may have succumbed to the plague or other misfortune, but I will search the city until I either kill her or find the ring that proves she is already dead. I'll help you find, I don't like either of these responses. I guess we'll say the first one. No, what happens if... I've never tried denying him in this quest. I guess we'll try number 2, see what happens. She's probably dead already, and the ring could be anywhere in the city. You'll never find it. Your words are cruel, but there is truth in them. However, I will not simply abandon my quest. I will not rest until I find the ring that proves Alaganda has been taken by the Silent Lord, though I know my chances of success are few. I have a ring here with a falcon on it. Is this the ring? Yes, this is Alaganda's ring. This is the proof I needed. Now I know she has been taken by the Silent Lord. She was a fool to flee. There is nowhere we can run that death cannot find us. I have no gold or treasure to reward you, but there is one thing I can offer, a small token, perhaps, but it is all I have. You have proved yourself a true servant of the Silent Lord, COVID. Take this amulet. All who join the Long Death are given a similar talisman. Thank you, Grimnaw. It will not save you from the Silent Lord when he finally chooses you, but it will grant you some protection from succumbing to those who would deliver you into his grasp before your appointed time. Eventually, I will return to my order and report Alaganda's death to them, but this can wait until your mission here is done, COVID. The mark of death is upon you, COVID. As long as I stay by your side, I know I serve the will of the Silent Lord. Alrighty. Well, I'm glad they didn't kick us off the quest line in order to, stick by our roleplay and not, try and help him kill anybody. but she was already dead, so that's that. And he gives us the Amulet of the Long Death, +1. This increases our Constitution by 1, and our gives us spell resistance of 10. I like the amulet that we currently have, given to us by Dalen, so we're going to use that one instead. But we'll hold on to this in case there's any narrow usage for it. If there's something where we need a slightly higher Constitution or something like that. Alright, we don't have Lanu's, so we'll move on to Body Knock and come back to Lanu once we find her item.
You're back, so you must need something. The most logical assumption is that you want me to join up with you again, correct?
Yep. Okay then, let's go. There's an entire world out there waiting for us to discover it. Man, voice acting Grimnar was tough. Let's see how I do with Body Knock now. Alright, let's talk. I'm a staunch proponent of the free exchange of ideas, COVID. What is it that you wish to know? I want you to continue your story from before. You seem quite interested in my time as an apprentice under Profero, COVID. I suppose we can afford a few minutes for me to recount those days for you. Profero instilled in me the basic principles of magic and the underlying laws governing the arcane. His knowledge and wisdom were an inspiration to me, though his organizational skills were somewhat lacking. What do you mean by that? I would constantly stumble across magic items carelessly strewn about the tower. Potions and elixirs from half-finished experiments would be left sitting out on the kitchen table. Ancient scrolls he had been copying would be stuffed under the cushions of his chairs. Wands would turn up in closets and drawers, and he never ever locked his laboratory despite the countless powerful magic items and dangerous experiments he often dabbled in. You must have found that quite a temptation. I admit, seeing all those potions and wands and scrolls just lying around was difficult, and I must confess that eventually I did give in to the temptation. I just snapped. I couldn't take it anymore, and I did something rash and completely out of character. I waited until my master left on an extended trip, and then I cleaned up Profero's laboratory. I organized the scrolls and potions and wands, I built shelves to store the magical components of his research, and I made a catalog card system so he could cross-reference all his tests and results. Items that were particularly powerful or unstable I locked safely away in a magically reinforced chest with a key that I presented to Profero on his return. That's it? You cleaned up? What can I say, COVID? I was young and foolish. Profero's own reaction was similar to yours. He couldn't believe what I had done, although he did continue to use the filing system I had set up for him. You had all that magic at your fingertips, and you didn't even try to use any of it? What kind of sorcerer are you? Weren't you even curious? Of course I was curious, COVID, but my hunger for experimentation was tempered by reason. Imagine the damage I could have done if I had dared to experiment on my own. I was an apprentice, so the sensible course of action was for me to follow the lead of my master. Any other course of action would have been illogical. That's hardly an adventuresome attitude. I admit my actions may seem overly cautious, but that is the way of my people. Curiosity is tempered with a careful analysis. However, ever since I left Lantern, I find I am growing more bold in my quest for discovery. After all, I did come to a plague-infested city in order to chronicle a new disease, among other things. Among other things? What do you mean? Is there another reason you came to Neverwinter? I'm sorry, COVID. I should not have said anything about this to you. It is really a trivial matter, and you have far more important things on your mind. You can tell me, Body Knock. Maybe it's something I can help you with. Ask me about this again later, COVID, and I will be happy to continue my tale. But for now, we should focus on your mission for Lady Erebeth. Let's keep it rolling. I told you earlier I came to Neverwinter to study the Wailing Death, COVID, but there was another reason I came as well. Given all that has happened, it seems rather unimportant now. But you did ask me, so I must conclude you are interested in my motivations. I have come to Neverwinter in search of bread. I know, how foolish this sounds, but I had heard tales of a special type of bread found only here in Neverwinter. Leaven bread, they call it. It is said the loaf stays fresh for months, and that it will never go stale or moldy. I was hoping that when I came to Neverwinter I could find someone to teach me the secret of making this wondrous leaven bread. If we could determine the agents that keep the bread from spoiling, I think the principles could be applied to any number of other uses. With a little research, this discovery could mean so much more than simple bread. But you haven't found anyone to give you the recipe yet. I looked for some time when I first arrived in this city, but it seems the secret is known only to a few master bakers, and unfortunately they have all been claimed by the plague. I suppose someone still has a copy of the recipe somewhere, but the more I witnessed the death and suffering in this place, the less important discovering the leavened bread became. I believe the discovery of the leavened bread recipe could have far-reaching benefits, and I would like to someday be able to bring a copy back to my home of Lanton. But I know your mission is more important, Covid. I will not let my scientific curiosity get in the way of your work. I happen to have a recipe for leavened bread right here. You do? This is wonderful. Yes, this is exactly what I need. I have no gold or treasure to reward you, but there is one thing I can offer, a small token perhaps, but it is all I have. Before I left Lanton, I was given this ring by my master, Profero. He said it embodies the essence of discovery and the quest for knowledge. Because you have helped me in discovering the miracle of this leavened bread, I feel you have earned the right to wear this ring. Thank you, Body Knock. The ring comes from the island of Lanton, island of discovery and invention. It has the power to grant insight to its wearer. I regret there is nothing else I can give you, Covid, but once more I thank you for what you have done. But we should return our attention to the greater matters now, and resume your mission. Erebeth is counting on you. Alrighty. So from him we got the Lantonese ring, +1. This gives us a bonus to charisma as well, so we could combine this with the belt of the performer to give us a boost to our diplomacy checks, or persuade checks I should say, because that will increase our charisma enough to give us a bonus from -2 to -1. We'll be real charmers at that point. There's also a regeneration effect on it, and that will increase basically every time we take every round, every 6 seconds essentially, we will gain 1 hit point if we are damaged. So I'll put those here, and if I'm ever taking damage, I think I'll switch out for the Lantonese ring, or if I'm in a situation where I know I don't have to worry about increasing my fortitude, I can switch out to the Lantonese ring and gain hit points back. Well, that's all we have time for this episode. Next time we will head back into the Beggar's Nest and into the catacombs beneath and try and take on Golnan, the Yonti that's been controlling the undead uprising on the Beggar's Nest. Alright, catch you guys next time.